ahead and get started. If we can stand, pledge allegiance to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Commissioner Weingart? Here. Commissioner Blumgren?
Here.
Commissioner Engstrom?
Here.
Commissioner Elson?
Here.
Commissioner Miles?
Here.
Commissioner Phipps?
Here.
Vice Chair Janowski?
Here.
And Chair Casisa.
Here. Okay, at this time we'll open it up for public comment. Is there anybody from the public wishing to speak on a topic that is not on the agenda? Going, gone. Okay, we'll close public comment. And with that, we'll start with presentations. Corte Madera Age-Friendly Intergenerational Center update by Carla Condom.
Thank you, Commissioners, for the opportunity to speak to you tonight. I'm not on?
No, you need to be closer to it.
Thank you. I do appreciate being able to give you an update tonight on our Age-Friendly Intergenerational Center. We have really gone skyrocketing since our opening on April 29th of this past year. This is a picture of our opening day with the people coming from all over to see what was cooking. There's Todd Cusimano's little guy who is taking off the blue paper over the plaque of our pencil bench. And we have... Yeah. And we've got, when we talk about intergenerational, it was so sweet. Trevor there was walking Pauline Engelman back to her car, and these two little guys stopped in to look at the 3D printer. Anyway, at that point, we didn't know what was going to happen, if people were going to buy into this, and you'll soon see. I'd first like to introduce to you our instructors that we have. First of all, John McCormack, who some of you may already know, Corte Madera resident, is a fantastic professional artist. This is not a hobby. This is what he does, and he's really accomplished. He has works hanging in the American Embassy in Moscow. He is doing right now a portrait, and it looks like there's a good possibility it will go into the National Gallery. So he is terrific, and he's is in charge of our drawing and watercolors. Then to his right is Deborah Maddox, also a Corte Madera resident. She has done commemorative posters for the Sausalito Art Festival. She is really one talented person. Then Julie, who probably most of you know, is our chamber executive director. And Julie is really into crafts. And so once a month, she leads a crafts class. Then on your lower left, Charles is the instructor for our maker's space. He is also the designer and builder for the exhibits at the Exploratorium. Then we have Rainer Needleman, who is one of our chair yoga people, and she is well known, has established herself throughout the country on that. But some of you may have heard of Sherry Baptiste. She is the third generation yoga family, and she takes people to India for all kinds of yoga adventures, and she is very sought after. She has written Yoga for Dummies, and she will be starting yoga with weights on February 20th at the Intergenerational Center. Then Jane Rivera also does the chair yoga. Pam Waterstone is our staff person, and she is the linchpin of the whole Intergenerational Center. She really keeps it together. She has a passion for what we're all doing, and she just joins right in. And so she does once a week a strengthening type of exercise, in addition to her position as staffer. And then Patty Stolier, who is here today, Patty's an RN, and she does a fun and fitness program once a week. On the lower left is Ruth Nenaber, and she is really great. She is our lead storyteller for preschoolers. She's done this for over 40 years in Marin City and was ahead of their daycare facility for Marin City. She has trained Jackie Spinner, a volunteer, who also does the storytelling. Jody Timms, next to her. Jody has worked for years for the county. She's also involved in Age Friendly Fairfax, but she is aware of every possible resource for seniors. And so people can come in, sign up, and Jody will either give them direction or help them get the services they need. And it's really a wonderful thing, and she's helped so many people since our opening. Sally Gillardin is part of the task force. She was hosting a movie book club. Now we're just changing it to movies, and we'll have Friday at the movies starting in a couple of weeks. The week that we opened, this was our schedule, and we were very proud of it. We felt it was pretty ambitious. But since then, you'll see Age Song, we've had to bid them adieu because we ran out of room. At any rate, this is February's schedule, and there you are. Quite a difference. We have things going on every day of the week, and starting on the 8th of February, we're going to start on Fridays as well. So this is one thing that I'll discuss with you later, one of the problems we had. But at any rate, we've got a wonderful, wonderful array of events that are there for all ages. In our Art for All Ages, which Deborah leads, you'll see we get all the little ones. We have it scheduled on a minimum day, so the kids can come right from Neil Cummins or the Cove. And then for the adults, John's class is twice a week, 10:30 to 12:30 on Mondays and Wednesdays. And this class has gotten really big. Today we had 18. And if you've seen our space and try to figure out how you're going to get 18 with tables set up and paints and have room to do things, it's really challenging. But it is a lot of fun, and people of all ages attend. Then another event that we have, we've had two, we're going to have another one the last Tuesday of February. We have a paint and sip, and you can come bring your beverages of choice, and Deborah Maddox leads that. And the last two events we've done Matisse's, except ours turn out better. And on that class, there is a charge. You don't have to be a member of the Intergenerational Center. Anyone can come. It's $45. It goes from 6:30 till 9 or 9:30 till you've finished your masterpiece. And when you're done, it's something suitable for hanging when you go home. And so it pays for all the materials, snacks, Deborah's instructions, everything. And it is a lot of fun. Then we're also really focusing on fitness. And so we've had yoga In fact, on the left, you may have seen the article. The IJ had us on the front page of the paper a few weeks ago, featuring, this was inside, but then featuring our yoga program. Big, huge colored picture on the front page, and we were really excited about that. And then we have, for less strenuous things, we've got the chair yoga, or Patty's class, or Pam's. Then something a little bit more challenging will be the yoga with weights that starts February 20th. We also have crafts and table games going. We have mahjong, we have bridge. Julie does the crafts. It's really kind of comical because the bridge players are playing right by the reception desk, and then we have the room with the closed doors that the mahjong people play in. They're both so raucous that you can hear the bridge players laughing when the mahjong people are playing, vice versa. It's just a real fun thing. And so we have that on Mondays. And the reading to preschoolers is precious. I got to tell you, it is so sweet. We have that twice a week. Our storytellers are ages 76 to 92. And they are just wonderful. And they're not people that just read the books. As you can see, Ruth comes dressed up sometimes. She's got all kinds of sound effects. It's really cute. And then the makerspace. We are really proud of that. We have a fully equipped makerspace with a laser cutter, a 3D printer, an X-Carve, a carving machine, a vinyl cutter, a watercolor printer. We've got it all in this makerspace. And Charles, as I said, from the Exploratorium, is our instructor. In that, we have to limit to about between 8 and 10 people, only because we don't have the space. We're short of space. On this last project that we did, where everybody they created from scratch an electric motor, the age gap, or the age range, I should say, there was a 60-year span between the youngest kid and the oldest adult. And so they just really work hand in hand, and it is great fun. On the lower left, these were light fixtures that we made. The plastic pieces were cut out on the laser cutter, and then you had to assemble them and with the light, and that was just really fun. This red on top was taken because the kids and adults made a motorized light show that they could take home. And that was the reflection that it could do on a wall. And this is all starting from scratch. They had little pieces of mirror and batteries and whatnot. Friday at the Movies and the third Wednesday speaker series. From the start, Park and Rec and Age Friendly partnered to have a speaker series. Since then, we have partnered with the Marin Villages and also Age Friendly Solution, which is the 501c3 that sponsors the Intergenerational Center. But we show such movies. We've already shown RBG and Crazy Rich Asians, and it's really fun. It will be, I think, a fun place for people to come to if they want to see a movie on Fridays. We're being recognized, which is really exciting. This was College of Marin sponsored this, didn't they? The mini medical school. And if you see up there, they consider us one of their partnering organizations. So we were very flattered that we got that. And then on this past Saturday, the IJ published a big advertisement for us. It at no cost to us, but they were going through different nonprofits through the county and choosing which one to feature. And last Saturday they featured us, and so that was kind of great. And then also there was the 26th annual Heart of Marin Awards luncheon. We didn't win, but we were nominated. We were nominated right down there for our excellence in innovation. So we were proud of that. Now, for memberships, it's $25 if you're a Corte Madera resident. It's $40 if you live outside of Corte Madera. The membership is tax deductible. It's paid to Age Friendly Solutions, which is the 501c3. And as a member, you can attend any and all of the classes for the whole year of 2019. So as of today, we have 224 members in less than a year. Our financials, these are, what would you say? These are real close, but don't hold me to the penny because I was kind of rushing. But we paid our instructors $15,479. We provide snacks, and that was $197. The makerspace, to equip that was $11,203. But with that, if you come to look, you'll see that we have probably $20,000 worth of stuff in there. And then side expenses, we have the signs made, things that we've kind of dressed up the space with is $1,812. But as you can see at the very top, through December 31st, we received $61,588 in donations. Now, about $800 of that was an in-kind donation, where somebody donated a keyboard and a stand and speakers and the whole ball of wax. And so that was an in-kind donation. So we're starting this year off with $32,897. There's going to be a lot at the very beginning taken off because it's going to be relative to what we're talking about in numbers to equip the yoga with weights. We want everybody to be able to participate. We don't want somebody that said, oh, I really want to take that, but I don't want to go out and buy a mat, and I don't know what kind of weights to buy, and I don't want to buy anything. So we will provide, as we have with all the art classes and everything else, we provide all the materials. What next? Okay, folks, we need more space. We haven't even advertised, and we already have 24 people signed up for Yoga with Weights starting in February 20th. We need more staffing hours. We have Pam, who, as I said, is the linchpin. We would love for her to work 3/4 time. I mean, right now, she's going to probably have to do it on her own time, but we have to, for the first time, we've got to actually fill out tax returns because we got that many donations that it knocked us up. We thought that at first we would only have to, that we were given a 3-year grace period, but we don't have that grace period anymore. So Pam and I will work together on doing the taxes. She works so many hours not on the clock for us, and so we are really trying to get her more hours because she is just vital to the program. We need to get the word out. When I went to that that affair, Hearts of Marin, and I sat next to a gentleman from Corte Madera, and he had never heard of the Intergenerational Center. So we've got to keep working to get the word out. And we really appreciate the public's generosity to support the center and its quality programs. And so we are doing our best to maintain sustainable by applying for grants. Some places have already said, our grants are coming in whatever month it is. So, we're looking forward to getting your applications. So we're hoping that it continues, but because we have grown, we need more materials. And so we're just going to need more financial assistance with that. But at any rate, just in closing, I just wanted to put in just a little plug. I know that there's talk about Park Madera Center. And when I was on the council, one of the things that we talked about was not the whole Park Madera Center, but one space that would be an ideal space for the Intergenerational Center that would not only house our activities, but it would, be park and rec as well, that we could all work out of there, because really right now the rec center is just one big rec hall. And we've created little spaces out of teeny spaces. So please keep that in mind, because we are getting people to attend from all over the county. Every city in the county has members at our Corte Madera Intergenerational Center. So anyway, I hope that you will give us our support. Do you have any questions?
Any questions?
Actually, I do have a question.
Good.
It's with 225 members, and I know you said you really would like to be able to pay Patty more hours. Have you thought about raising the $25 a year membership cost? Because that seems unsustainably low.
Right. Well, we were charging last year $15 and
Which
$25.
seems very low, too.
And part of it was that we want to get the word out. And it seems like word travels fast when it's low, but indeed, we wanted to raise it. We figured we'll go through this year and do the best we can, but then in 2020, we would have to have it increased a little bit, because even if the town won't pay, it's Pam, and even if the town won't pay Pam, age-friendly Corte Madera, age-friendly solutions should be able to offer a stipend, since the two aren't conflicting, since the two agencies are actually working together. And another thing, too, is that we want to do is, we've been trying for a while to get a public-private partnership so that things are really official between the town and the Intergenerational Center. But, yeah, absolutely, Emily.
Okay, thanks.
We've got to do it.
Any other
Sort of our lost leader.
So you quoted, I think, $63,000 in donations, but that includes the in-kind donations. Do you know what your monetary donation number was for the year?
Yeah, it was minus the $800 for the in-kind.
Oh, it was only $800 for in-kind?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so we've had contributions from the county. The Board of Supervisors gave us $10,000. The Health and Human Services gave us money. Central Marin Police gave us money. A family foundation gave us $30,000. And then we count the donations as memberships.
And those are all one-time donations?
We hope not.
Yeah. So, it's a new year. Are you guys reaching back out to those groups?
Absolutely. And because like AARP had said they would help us also. And so it's just about time now to apply to them. But, oh, yeah, I mean, yeah, and if ever you have suggestions of anybody that might be willing to donate, whether it be a foundation of some kind or somebody that is might be interested in supporting this, it's been really great. We've made a difference. I meant to bring the testimony. You know what?
Wait.
Do you have it? There is a
If
testimony.
you don't mind, maybe we can do it.
Circulate it by
Yeah.
email.
Oh.
We have a longer meeting night.
Oh, I'm sorry, and I was only supposed to be really, I promised Mario.
That's okay. Thanks, we appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you, Carla.
Thanks,
You know what
Carla.
I'll do is I will send the testimonial if I can.
Yeah, or if you want to send it tomorrow, if it's easier, send it to him and he can blast it out to us, whatever's easier for you.
Okay, so if you guys get that, will you please read it, because it'll
Yes.
bring tears to your eyes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for listening.
You're welcome. I'm not going to, Summer Playground Director, I'll let you do the introduction, Mario.
Sure. Thank you so much. Want to take this opportunity. Shania Rodriguez is here. I'm going to put her on the spot for a couple of minutes, but I do want to introduce her. Shania's been with us for several years. She was the assistant director last year to Ashley Parrott, the Summer Playground Program, which had a huge amount of success last year. We've really been building with the Commission's guidance and working with Dave Wilkinson and the city manager to make some changes to Summer Playground alongside with the Commission, and really hoping that we're going to do a lot more great things this year. Shania's been there for many years. She's been part of the program. She's volunteered. She's worked in many, many different capacities for our kids club, for our summer playground program. And this year, we offered her the job a few months ago, and she's happily accepted. And Shania, just here to introduce you. And if you just wouldn't mind just giving us a little background on yourself and just saying hi to the commission.
Hi. Is it okay if I stand here?
You got to go to the mic. Thanks.
Hi there. As he said, my name is Shania Rodriguez. I am a member of this community, actually. I live down the street right here. I grew up here. I went to Neil Cummins, attended Hall Middle School, Redwood. Like he mentioned, I actually went to summer playground when I was younger. Both of my siblings currently, my youngest sister, who's about 9, will attend summer playground, has attended. She went to kids club. I did kids club for many years. I started at summer playground. I volunteer for events. I'm pretty active in this community. I'm really excited for this upcoming summer. I'm super passionate about being able to provide a really safe and great environment for kids to spend their summer. I know what it means for parents to really choose a good program to, let their kids spend a majority of their day. So I'm looking forward to spending a wonderful summer.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shania. And just for the commission, we will be having a brief presentation, probably in April, maybe May, about the planning process that Shania's going underway between now and then for this upcoming summer playground year. And you'll also be looking at the fee resolution, which we'll be talking about summer playground a little bit tonight. But she will be doing a presentation to the commission in one of the following meetings coming up.
Any questions? Okay, thanks. We look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
We have nothing under consent calendar. Park and Recreation Director and Commissioner reports, Town Council reports. Commissioner Bloomgren, you have anything for January, even though,
The first meeting was canceled because it was on first.
lucky you.
The second meeting, there wasn't any business for Parks and Rec.
Okay, thank you. The Executive Advisory Committee, we met once, I believe it was last week with Mario. Pretty much we went over what's going to be on the agenda and just had some discussion around the fee schedule and that kind of stuff. So there wasn't anything out of the ordinary. Is there any update on the ICG Programming Ad Hoc Committee?
That group did not meet in January. There was plans to, and it didn't happen. But we will be hopefully meeting. We will be meeting before the next commission meeting. So there's no updates at this time.
Okay. Do you want to add anything? No? Okay. Any individual commissioner updates? Okay, gone. Director's report, Mario, updates?
Sure. Just want to give you a few updates. Sort of logistically and operationally, so the commission knows, over the past several months, as you know, we've been working with Dave Wilkinson, our consultant, and reorganizing some responsibilities and roles as part of improving service levels and efficiencies at the community center. One of the big ones that we made the transition was for operationally for our recreation supervisor, Brian Hernandez, to take over the majority of to take over the rentals of the community center as well as the Neil Cummins Gym. With that, I do want to give a huge thanks to Brian and the staff. He's done an amazing job. It's a very detail-oriented and complicated list of things to go through with folks who don't normally plan events. Some are doing this a year in advance, and some people are doing it 2 to 3 weeks in advance. And to work with the different kinds of personalities that walk through our door is a real challenge. But and I mean that in a good way. I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just there's just a lot of different things, a lot of different people who are coming in to do things from birthday parties to weddings to memorial services to corporate events as well. So Brian's jumped in with both feet. He's had a lot of support from our office staff, and I really want to thank him for that. And you will see an update in the budget at the next meeting, but you'll see that one of our goals was increased revenue through facility rentals, which looking at the amount of contracts that are on Brian's desk, I can assure you that that is going to be reflected in our budget at the end of the year as well as at our midway point. So thank you, Brian, for that. Outdoor facilities, I want to mention that we, as most of you know, our outdoor fields for the most part are closed for the winter. We do have a few groups that are out there. There's rugby groups, and starting at the end of February, there'll be a lacrosse group, and then Little League starts at the end of January. So we do have some winter use. It's not super heavy, but they are very conscientious groups that are very aware of field conditions, the weather, and they've been really great and easy to work with. So I do appreciate that, because we have been obviously getting increased pressure to make the facilities more available during the wintertime, as well as having better facilities in general. And Peter Brown, our Public Works Director, will actually be here at the February meeting to talk a little bit about the improvements they've made to the field conditions, as well as to some of the other projects that are in the pipeline. That was originally planned for this evening, but we pushed it back to February. Neil Cummins Gym, also just want to mention in terms of transfer responsibility, Brian's taken that over, and he's worked really closely with the school district on improving the facility itself. During the winter months, the gym gets a ton of heavy use, and there's, I think, between Friday night and Sunday night, there's 6 different groups of people that that use that facility, and it's, in terms of keeping it clean, keeping it secure, keeping it organized, is a big chore. And the staff that Brian's working with and his relationship with the school district has really helped out a lot. So I do appreciate the support on that. And I think we're making some really good strides on our relationship with the school district, meeting the new superintendent, and there's a new facilities director there as well. So it's good. We have a good relationship with them. We're happy to continue that. Summer playground, you heard from Shania, and you'll be seeing an update on that in April or May. Our most recent, I guess last time we met was in early December, right? So we talked about Breakfast with Santa. So our most recent event was our spaghetti bingo, and I'll just have Brian say a few words on that. And then Brian can talk very briefly about a potential capital project with the beautification committee.
Is that? Yeah, you can go. So we had spaghetti bingo last Friday, and we had 60 plus people show up for it. It was a great event. We had no hiccups, which is a very surprising thing. We always have a hiccup when in our events either someone doesn't show up or something just doesn't go right. but that night it was perfect. And we had a lot of friendly people. There was a lot of comments about how the decorations were really nice, and it felt really, really good. Like it was mellow. Mario helped with the setup, and he kind of threw his twist on the setup, and it kind of blew my mind a little bit because I'm always so stuck in the same setup. But it was perfect. It was great, and the night went well. The capital project that I'm working on right now is with the Beautification Committee and with Public Works, is that we are going to redo the Menke Park sign. And one of the ideas that I came up with was moving the sign and putting it in a more location that when you're driving by, you see it, you're like, okay, that's Menke Park, as opposed to having to turn into Menke Park and then seeing the sign at the very end of the park. So we're looking at either doing a wood sign, metal sign, moving it to the corner of Tamalpais and Magnolia, or moving it down more towards the bus stop that says Old Town Square. So we're going to either look at those 2 or 3 options. Once Jamie and I come up with a design of the sign, we're going to bring it back to the commission, and then for your support, changes, whatever you guys want to do. But we're going to keep it simple. We're not going to change any of the verbiage. It's going to stay the same. It might just look a little bit cleaner as far as instead of doing like a brown background, maybe do a green background or something that kind of fits the area. So, yeah, that's what we're working on.
Thank you.
Brian, just real quick, maybe I missed it, but could you just talk about funding real quick? This is a project that the Beautification Committee wants to
Correct.
fund. Okay.
Yes, the Beautification Committee is going to fund it. So I'm in charge of finding out how much it's going to cost for either Public Works to install it, somebody else to install it, the sign design, and also who's going to make the sign. So,
I think they're funding the whole thing.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, and they're aware of it. I think they've budgeted. I think the number was 7,000. So they have a neighborhood of that to make it work.
If it runs over, let me know, because the Lions may be able to put in some money for that.
Okay, we'll do.
Brian, quick question about the bingo event. Was that sold out?
No.
Okay. I went online, I think it was the day before, and it said this event is closed. And so I thought, oh, it's sold out. But then I realized afterwards, maybe it's just closed online and I could have gone in person.
Yes.
So it might be helpful online when you close ticket sales, when there's still tickets, to make a note that says you can buy them cash at the door.
Our system really doesn't allow for that. We can put a note, I think.
That's
that
what I
if you-
just mean as a note there.
Yeah, I think there's an option to put a note if you click on the class.
Okay.
I'm not 100%, but yes. So what we do is we close out classes, either a week before or the day of, just so that I know that I have 60 people coming, that I can buy the food for that event.
Yeah. It might appear that it's sold out to people.
Yeah, but I think we had on the marquee though that tickets were on sale at the door.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Yeah, but I agree.
Any other questions for Brian?
Yes.
You're on.
What's the difference between Old Town Square and Menke Park? Are they the same, or?
Yes, that spot has 3 names. It's if you don't know it as Menke Park, you might know it as Piccolo Pavilion. But if you don't know it that, you might know it as Old Town Square, because that's originally the Old Town Square. And there's a bus stop that has that signage above the bus stop that says Old Town Square.
So you need 3 signs?
Yeah,
How do you Google map it?
right? Menke Park.
Any other questions for Brian? Okay. Anything else, Mario?
No, those are the updates, unless you guys have any questions. I'd be happy to move on to business items
I have a quick question. So Brian moved over to doing events, community center,
and rentals, yeah.
and rentals. He was doing programming before, right?
He's also doing programming.
So he's doing programming plus the other 2?
Yes.
Okay. Is that too much for one person?
You may want to ask Brian in about 9 months.
Okay, just checking. Any other questions for Mario? Okay. Business item 6.1, discussion and possible action on animals in the park ordinance.
I'm going to pitch this one completely to you, Chair Casissa.
Okay, I think this has been on the agenda, I think, for like
18 months.
18 months.
I'm
Mostly
kidding.
because
It's not been 18 months. I'm
Maybe a
teasing.
year.
it's close,
teasing.
maybe a year. Just because we've had commission members absent, just a number of things. So we want to see if we can bring closure to this tonight. And pretty much, let me know if I'm not correct. The options pretty much are, right now, the way it stands in the park, animals are prohibited from any park in Corte Madera, flat out. On leash or off leash, they're flat out prohibited. So we're looking either leaving that or potentially changing an ordinance to make dogs allowable in the park, Corte Madera parks, as long as they're on leash. And that law would mimic what San Anselmo has and also what Larkspur would has. So it's all tied in with Central Marine Police Authority. So they're just looking at one ordinance instead of having to split it out. If all that makes sense.
And there was also
Yep.
a survey, correct, that was done?
There was a survey that was done in October, November, and if I can remember,
It was
it was
50-50.
almost split
It was
50-50.
49-51.
Residents saying, 50-50 in support or against,
Or in support of no dogs in the park or in support of?
amending the
The
ordinance.
question was posed.
There are a few other options.
The
right?
question was the question was posed as, sorry, forgive me.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Was posed as keeping the ordinance the same,
Yep.
or adjusting the ordinance to allow dogs in the park. That's the way the
On leash.
on leash. Yeah, I mean that's the way it was. The question was phrased, and it was. It's what I told Fred and Emily in some of our meetings was that the commission certainly has the pulse of the community. Which is a good thing. It's not a bad thing.
Is there any discussion?
Or should we put it to a final vote? Or are we not going to do that?
Okay. I make the motion that we go ahead and, I guess with approval from the city attorney, because I'm not sure what the verbiage would be, amend the ordinance so that it aligns with that of Larkspur and San Anselmo to allow dogs in the park as long as they're on leash. So it'd be the same ordinance that they have. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, now we have discussion.
Well, I mean, I think my concern would be that if you change the ordinance, you're basically going against the wishes.
You're going against the wishes of half of the responders, maybe not half the community, but half the responders.
It's 50-50 though, because,
Yeah.
I mean, it's glass half empty and half full because half said they would want to have dogs on leash,
Right.
the other half says no.
Right.
So I think what would have made our job a lot easier if it was like
It was
80-20
heavy,
one
yeah.
way or the other
Yeah,
way.
I think we were kind of expecting that, right? I mean,
Yeah, it did
I was
not-
kind of expecting that there would be more people saying, yeah, go ahead, do the leash,
Yeah,
allows the leash thing. And then, so I was kind of surprised that it came in so strongly against.
it didn't happen that way.
Yeah, yeah.
So setting aside the merits of actually changing the ordinance, would we be comfortable recommending to town council if we didn't have a unanimous vote on that? Or are we looking to try to find a solution that we all agree on?
I think we've looked at solutions, and I think, unless I'm wrong, I don't know what other solutions there are.
Okay.
I mean, it's pretty much, I'll pick on dogs instead of animals, because I think the ordinance actually says no animals in the park.
Yes, correct.
But it's either no animals at all, or dogs are permitted on leash. And right now, as far as I know, Mario, you can let me know if I'm wrong, there's no enforcement either way.
Right.
By that, I mean, there's nobody from Central Marin, and, from a law enforcement standpoint, I don't see them doing that. Parking one of their vehicles at the park and walking around with people right now that have dogs that are in the park and not supposed to be.
Right.
And I don't even see them doing that potentially if we vote to recommend to allow dogs in the parks on leash, same type thing. I don't think there's going to be a lot of enforcement. It's a
Yeah,
low.
there's no reason to
it's a low-
speculate that they're going to enforce the leash option either.
Correct.
Well, isn't that one of the main reasons this came up was, I think I turned it on, was so that we could be in line for the police and make it easier for them? But if they're not going to do the enforcement,
No, and I think that brings up a good point, and we have talked about this in the past. right now, the way that the ordinance is written, it really doesn't give you any leeway and doesn't really make a lot of sense for the community. If you look at it from an enforcement point of view, kicking somebody out of the park or addressing the fact that they have an animal in the park, if it's on leash, let's say, is a tough pill to swallow for the police department. If we do adjust our ordinance to reflect that animals are allowed in the park but need to be on leash, I think that gives it's a really different conversation. It's a very different perspective from the enforcement side. Again, I'm not a police officer. I'm giving you what staff believes would work and supports. But ultimately, it's your decision. Staff is in support of adjusting the ordinance to read to allow animals on leash. But it's right now. Nothing says that anything needs to be done. This came up to the commission for discussion, so it's completely up to you.
Further discussion?
Didn't we also talk about a trial period at some point? Was that an option?
It's not really a realistic option.
Okay.
A what now?
A trial
Trial.
period.
Oh, yeah.
We
No,
did.
it's-
I think
Test
we
it
did.
for 60 days and see what happens. But I think the thing is, you need the ordinance in place, so
Yeah.
it's almost like you can't test it because there's no enforcement because there's no ordinance.
Right.
Yeah.
In my mind, if we did pass it and it was an utter failure, you could change the ordinance back. So
Correct.
in essence, you are having a trial period if you make the change.
Was there any feedback from the other towns about how it's working for them?
But I mean, it would be driven mainly by calls of service from the police department. And I will say that the police have always said that they have the least amount of calls, if any, from the town of Corte Madera, based on their assessment of animals in the park complaints.
That's because they're never in the park because it's against the law.
Well,
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that.
not sure about that part, but
I don't think it would change very much.
You may need to use a mic, I'm sorry. You can probably just, there you go.
I don't think it would. I feel kind of like a professional singer. I don't think it would change that much to allow dogs on leash because, I mean, for all the soccer games and rugby games that I've gone to for my siblings, there have been so many dogs in the park, all on leash. And I don't really see the harm of allowing them to be in the park.
Agree.
Okay. I'll open it up for public comment. Does anybody from the public have any comment, thoughts, insight? No? Are they allowed in the Intergenerational Center? Did it? Okay, we'll defer that one. Okay, I'll bring it back to the, close public comment, bring it back to the commission. Is there any other discussion? Okay, I'll go ahead and call for the vote.
okay, so you do have, you made a motion that the commission recommend to council to change the ordinance to reflect, to allow animals in the park on leash only.
Correct, and it's in line with what, I'm not sure the verbiage that Larkspur and San Anselmo, I don't know what verbiage
Right,
they
but
use.
To conform with theirs.
Yeah,
But the point is that to allow animals in the park
On leash.
On leash
Yep.
only.
correct,
Yep.
only.
correct. All right, Commissioner Weingart,
Yay.
Commissioner Blomgren,
No.
Commissioner Engstrom,
Yes.
Commissioner Elson,
Yes.
Commissioner Miles,
Yes.
Commissioner Phipps,
Yes.
Vice Chair Rodnowski,
Yes.
and Chair Casisa.
Yes,
Okay.
okay, so moved.
We
Thank
will
you.
move that forward.
Hey, Mario, do you have any idea how long it's going to take to change the ordinance?
That's a good question. I'd have to look at, there's usually a two meeting period minimum with the council, because there's a intro and then adoption of. So at least 1 month minimum.
I was just thinking it would be good to reach out to the Central Marin Police like 6 months after we change it and see if anything's changed for them.
Oh, sure,
And to
absolutely.
revisit it in our meeting.
Revisit the
Just-
ordinance, or just get an
well,
update on?
An update on how it's going
Okay,
and
okay.
have we gotten any complaints? Are people happy with it?
potentially even when we think it's going to go, at the timing that it's going to go, and ask for a little support in communication, keeping the ordinance followed. So, I mean, whatever, given this recommendation, we need some support in getting the public to understand what the ordinance is.
The other thing, because it has to cycle through town council at 2 meetings, we're looking at maybe like 4 months from now. And I'm just throwing that out because I'm not sure.
I'd have to look at the schedule, I'm not sure.
Okay. I'm just trying to get
it would
an
make
idea.
sense to put it out in line with the opening of the fields in the springtime. But yeah, I'd have to look at the calendar for the agenda, for the town council.
Okay, and then if and when we get to that point in time, there'd have to be change on the signage also, right? Because now everything reads no animals allowed in park. It's just something to keep in the back of your mind.
The ordinance number would probably remain the same. It's just the verbiage that would change. So yeah, we would need to do some signage change that would
So you just like white out the no.
take some time.
And add on leash.
Just go steal Larkspur's sign.
Post
Yeah, there you go.
Post a big yellow one.
And we need some of those little poop collection
Yeah.
bag dispensers.
Okay, we'll move on. 6.2, review and discussion of current fee resolution. Mario?
Okay, so as you know, every other year approximately, the commission reviews the fee resolution. The timing of it usually comes right after the first of the year to make a recommendation to council for either the February or March meeting. The schedule comes in line mainly because of our advertising deadlines for our summer playground. And do want to, I'll go over the fee resolution and happy to answer any questions about it, but I'm only going to touch on the changes that we're looking at making,
That's
that
fine.
staff's recommending. So we were looking at a red line version of last year's fee resolution. The first part that's redlined out is the classification of residency. And this relates to summer playground, but I'll explain it right now. The idea would be to clarify the residential requirement so that it includes Corte Madera and Larkspur residents. It considers Corte Madera and Larkspur residents equal under programming fees. In the past, in regard to summer playground, the designation has been the county of Marin and non-county. So the adjustment would be made to include Corte Madera, Larkspur, as well as anybody who attends the Corte Madera, Larkspur School District. I'm discussing that with the city attorney to come up with the verbiage, but that is what staff's going to be recommending to the commission, and happy to discuss that and talk about the merits of that.
So really quick, then City of Larkspur would be out and then the new verbiage would be added?
Yeah, I just redlined out the whole thing because it's going to be totally, it's going to be simplified actually. It's going to talk about, it's going to essentially say Corte Madera Larkspur residents as well as attendees of the Corte Madera Larkspur School District.
Okay, I'm just asking because B below it says Town of Corte Madera and City of Larkspur.
Okay,
And-
so there's two different sections here. One has to do with programs, one has to do with rentals. So specifically we're talking about the designation for the summer playground program.
Okay.
Got it.
And that change would take what percent that was considered not resident and make them the
About
resident?
50%.
50% more, okay, so we'd now be kind of 75%.
Let me
Okay.
get to the fee part of it just real briefly before we, maybe it'll answer your question. So if you look at the fee breakdown for summer playground, residents under the new designation, which would be Corte Madera Larkspur and Corte Madera Larkspur School District children, would pay $650 for the summer. That's the same fee that they paid last year. The non-resident rate last year was $850, and that was for non-Marin County residents. Now, the designation this year would be anybody outside of Corte Madera Larkspur or the Corte Madera Larkspur School District. And we propose phasing in the increase of the fees. So we were actually dropping the fee down from $850 to $750 per child. And for the first sibling and second sibling. And then the increase, the other two increases would be for the daily and weekly fees that you see there from $50 to $55 and from $175 to $185.
So on those other fees, you're saying that they dropped this year and then next year they'd go back up?
Correct.
Okay.
Since there's, as Commissioner Miles mentioned, we're talking about 45+% of the population of Summer Playground would be considered non-residents this coming year that were not considered last year. We thought it prudent to phase in the fee increase over two, at least two years. The only other addition that I have for, or a change in addition for this fee resolution would be to add another item to town civic organizations that are exempt from facility fees for the community center, and that would be under town-sponsored NRG trainings. And that is to identify very specifically trainings that are put on by the NRG coordinator, Lori Rice, who works for both the town of Corte Madera and the city of Larkspur, coordinating the NRG trainings for both cities. And there's the continued discussions with her and the city manager to sort of really identify the needs, but we're going to start with those town-sponsored events. So this would not include, for example, social events put on by homeowners association or individual NRGs themselves.
Questions for Mario? We'll start at that end because you're like ding, ding, ding,
I have a lot of
lighting
questions.
up.
So there's no change then again in the resident fee for the summer playground. When was the last time there was a change?
In the resident fee?
Yeah.
It was probably two years ago. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry, just real quick, did summer program last year break even? Do you know?
It made a little bit of money.
Okay. I'm just trying to put it in perspective for you.
And when that's what I'm trying to understand, that it is kind of how this stacks up against other summer programs. And my understanding of summer programs is for kids under 5, so I get that they're going to be more expensive, but they're more expensive by a factor of like 5x.
We are the best deal in town.
No doubt about it.
By far.
So I guess I'm just wondering how that plays in, like, if we're taking into account all the things that we'd like to do and setting this fee appropriate for kind of the overall expense of the Parks and Rec department, knowing that this is potentially a way to supplement other things we're doing, but still be the best deal in town. So I guess that's what I'm trying to get a sense of how this plays against other programs.
So this is just a discussion. I'm not looking for any recommendation this evening. Happy to get any and all information that the commission is interested in seeing at the next meeting to consider for a vote. And so, be happy to any facts that we're looking for, anything that we'd like to present in terms of metrics, we certainly can.
Are you thinking they should be higher? I don't mean like $200 higher,
No,
but at
but
least
like-
if it was like $700, $800, I'm just throwing that out there.
I thought we were $675 last summer. That's what I remember from the advertising. So maybe I've clearly forgotten. But $20 here and across the number of kids that come through could be meaningful. And I guess it's having a better context as to what the impact is, both kind of in terms of making sure we're still affordable for people who need to use the program. My understanding is it's still, if the plan is to still allow this to be a free service for folks who are town employees, that it's still kind of a benefit and perk?
That's also part of the conversation, that whether that's going to apply for any and all programs or specifically only for the summer playground program, or how that's going to be.
Yeah.
And that's certainly up for the commission to also discuss as
That
well. I mean, it's right there, written, Town of Corte Madera employees, registration fees exempted. It says right there. So anything on this resolution is within your purview.
We may want to try to split that conversation into two. And by two, I mean summer playground employees. What do we want to do with them?
Yeah.
Town of Corte Madera, do we want to exempt them from paying anything? And this is, it's kind of like balls in our court to make a recommendation to town council.
Okay.
And there's no right or wrong. I mean, it could be like, we may think, it has come to a vote and actually passed, but we may sit there and think that, 100% is a little bit too much and maybe employees should be getting 50%. I'm just throwing this out. Sure. The other thing I think we need to factor in for both these when we get to that point in time is, we also have Central Marin Police Authority, and we also have a joint GPA with the fire department now. So I'm not saying to extend it to City of Larkspur employees, but that's a possibility. But at a minimum, should we be including Central Marin Police and also the joint powers agreement with the fire department?
Yeah.
And again,
How does that
some of
play
this
out?
we can talk about tonight because we only have, I think, one more meeting.
Yeah, I will be asking the
advertising
commission to vote on it at their February meeting.
Right.
Okay.
So we don't have to settle on things tonight, but I think it's food for thought that we need to
Yeah.
have that discussion.
Yeah.
No, I think it's absolutely important. I think also for some of the questions that Commissioner Miles has, and maybe the rest of the commission, it may be beneficial for you to review the summer playground wrap-up presentation that we did in September, because that does have a lot of demographic information on where kids came from, the employees, et cetera.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that at your fingertips, it's on the website, but I'll also be happy to send it to you, so just let me know.
Okay. Well, before we get to the pricing, sounds like something, Mario will get you more information, so we have more, I want to say, informed decision on the pricing. But is there any thoughts on what we want to do with employees? With summer program? So right now, Town Corte Madera employees are exempt. I'm not sure how many employees are using it. Do we want to leave it where they're, and again, it's not to make a decision tonight, but just to kind of get thoughts. So this way we're not time crunched at next meeting, but do we want to just leave it that they're totally exempt? So basically, it's 100% free. Do we want to leave it that way, but then also add police and fire to that list? Or do we also want to add City of Larkspur employees? And again, I'm just throwing this out there to get the discussion rolling.
I think maybe as we're discussing that, I think you knew the numbers, Mario, that as far as town employees using summer playground, it was very small.
Yeah, I mean, don't quote me, I want to say half a dozen maybe.
Yeah. And it might be nice to reach out to fire and police just to get an idea of what it might be, what that number might be. If it's going to be 1 or 2 kids or 10 kids, it might affect our decision. And the last thing I would say is, I think the employees here deserve to get a great break on that, but maybe a small portion of it should be taken up, like a copay and
Like
medical care.
25% or something?
25% or something. So I would suggest looking into what the numbers might be if we bring in police and fire and thinking about a small fee for staff.
My feeling on it is that I think that most of the employees don't even live in Corte Madera. Maybe it's 25%. I'm not sure exactly what the statistic is. So I don't know if that many can take advantage of it then, anyway. And I think the fact that they can't afford to live here, they probably need a break. So my feeling is to give employees a break. And police and fire, I think I would be lean towards that as well. I'm not sure about Larkspur employees, though. That's a little different to me.
Okay.
I like the idea of treating Larkspur and Corte Madera as the same because, I mean, we call ourselves the Twin Cities. And so to me, we all use the programs. We use Larkspur, they use ours. But I feel like a full subsidy of the summer camp is a little generous given we're trying to close some revenue gaps. So I would be inclined to maybe do like a 50% subsidy, but include the other agencies and include Larkspur.
Any other thoughts just on summer program employees? No? Okay, again, we're going to have to bring it to a vote next meeting, so again, just, I want to say think about it.
Yeah.
And any information, sorry to interrupt, any information that any individually commissioners or commissioners as a whole need, demographics, enrollment, prices, budget, please let me know. Happy to provide that.
Can you
If that helps
clarify,
anyone.
is it only residents who are town employees, or is it any town employee can use
Any
it?
town employee.
Okay, so if they're not living here, they can still use the program.
Firemen who live in
Petaluma.
Petaluma use the summer playground program.
Got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
at no cost.
Okay, off summer program for a minute. Question on program rates, because is this the same type thing for employees? Because there's verbiage in here saying the use fees, I'm not going to read the whole thing. Right under section 9, I can't read Roman numerals either. It says a use fee chain charges excluding duty staff applicable to users of towns, parks, recreation facilities shall not be applied to town council, board members, town departments, Marin Police Authority, and volunteer firefighters. I didn't even know we had one of those.
That's, and maybe it needs to be more clearly outlined, but that's in referring to meetings that those organizations have.
Okay, so it's just for the use of the facilities.
Correct.
Okay. So on programs, actual programs, are there any employee discount? Employees are paying full, town employees for just regular programs?
Yeah, there's a small, whether it be depending on the price of the program, 5 to 10% discount for town employees using our soccer program or a gymnastics class or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that something we need to set either in here or as part of the pricing program policy?
I think
this way it's set, and I'm just making this up again,
Yeah.
Mario, that all employees, again, maybe use similar verbiage for summer program once we get that nailed down, and then it also applies to programs also.
Yeah, I think it would be it would be a good idea for the commission to look at adding a section that's specifically itemized. That's a town, whatever organizations you wish to include, benefits and fee reductions to those groups, and programs 10%, childcare, whatever it is, rentals, whatever it is. That I think it would certainly fit inside the fee resolution to have that sort of verbiage.
Okay. Everybody's looking, but I have more. Sorry. Athletic fields, Twin Cities Little League and Twin Cities softball, they only pay $15 an hour?
Correct.
When was the last time that was raised?
Probably about 6 years ago.
Okay. And again, I'm not trying to gouge anybody, but is that something we want to look at, possibly bumping up to 25 or 20 because $15, and I appreciate the Little League and girls softball, but $15 for 6 years fixed, going back 6 years, it just seems a little bit excessive. And I'm not saying it to bump it up to 50, but even if we bumped it up to 25 or something like that.
I would support that. I mean, we're spending a lot more on the fields to maintain them and give them better quality fields, and no increase in 6 years is, I don't think that's too much for them to handle.
Okay. And then how do the Intergenerational Center fees that they charge tie into this, or does it? And how are those fees set?
That's a discussion that I need to have with the Intergenerational Center representatives, which we wouldn't be prepared to talk about it at this meeting, but we can talk about it at the next one.
Okay, because we need to know if it needs to be included, if those fees, I don't know how the accounting works, if it's rolled up into Park and Rec budget and separate line item. I'm not sure how that works.
It's not. Our budgets are totally separate.
Okay. So their budget doesn't roll up at all?
No.
Okay. Okay. Anybody have anything else? She's laughing. I have edits, which I can talk to you offline about.
That's good.
Okay, so we'll continue this discussion at the next meeting, which we're going to have to bring it to a vote, so it can go to town council in March. And if anybody has anything that you need from Mario to get more information, just send him an email so we can have it by next meeting. Because sometimes, I know I walk away from these meetings, I think it's something, and usually if somebody thinks it's something, it's going to be beneficial for everybody. 6.3, review and discussion of skateboard park rules.
Sure. So, as you all know, we've had an ongoing discussion since the reinvention of our skate park. And I've attached the skate park rules that we have for our park. There's the rules that are there for McGuinness, the Novato skate park at Hamilton, and one in Moraga called the Lemarinda skate park. So those are there for your reference to read and look at. If you've had a chance to look at them and think about some of the main topics of conversations that we've had regarding adjusting the rules of the skate park have circled around age-appropriate levels for the park itself, scooters, bikes, skates, inline skates or roller skates in general, and use of the park itself that would be not conducive to the activity of skateboarding or skating in general. So Staff doesn't have any major recommendations to make any changes, but be happy to discuss any of the other rules and regulations of the other parks that the commission wishes to look at for our park.
Questions, comments?
An observation I made before is it's one thing to have the rules posted in small font that usually don't get read by kids, and I think another in practice is that the main issue at that skate park we've heard of is usually the gate being left open, parents with very young kids kind of using the ramps as slides, and preventing people from using it as it's intended. So something we've suggested in the past is making sure the gates are self-closing and putting some kind of sign that maybe the kids could design that says something like skaters only, parentheses, sorry, mom and dad, or something like that. Just to maybe make a parent think twice before during kids soccer playing on the ramps as if they're slides with a 3-year-old, and basically preventing skating from happening. So the rules are one thing, but just making sure that it's very aware to parents of young kids that it's not a place to play would be important.
I think just to make a side note on what Commissioner Blomgren's saying, I think one thing that staff has tried to take an active role in is scheduling activities around the park and the types of activities that are going on in relation to the skate park itself. It is, I'll say this, it's tough because the sort of safety net that exists around the grass area right in front of the skate park is very conducive to 2 and 3 and 4-year-old activities because it's a nice 200 yards away from Tamalpais Drive. But we do have, the attractive nuisance for that age group that the skate park exists right there. So, we do, from a staff level, we do some minor coordination with, if we do plan activities for kids that are 2, 3, and 4 years old, that's done earlier in the morning, so as to not necessarily coincide with heavier use times at the skate park. So just as a side note.
So go ahead. Did you have a question?
No, I just have to go.
Oh, go ahead. Question for you. Thanks. Are those the existing rules right now for Corte Madera? Okay. Are those on the signs?
Yes.
Okay. So we wouldn't need to change the sign then?
Unless there's a change in the rules that the commission wishes to make.
Okay.
We
Go ahead.
Well, we talked about the fact that it's a little outdated with skateboards and inline skates only. And I can't remember if we're going to look into whether or not scooters and bicycles are a big increase in wear on the ramps. Is there any reason from a wear and tear perspective we shouldn't allow those in the park? Because that's a lot more popular now than it was when those rules were written.
Sure, and I think I think that also is more specific to the issue of the age requirements of the park itself. Well, I don't know. I don't want to say that there's not 12-year-olds out there on scooters because I'm sure there are, but there isn't necessarily any with normal use. There isn't any more wear and tear on the ramps themselves using bikes or scooters. I mean, if you look at it, the park's a little over a year and a half old, and it's gotten pretty beat up already.
Mm-hmm. Are there any, is the town liable based off of these rules? So if we don't state a rule and, if we had a rule that said, as long as you can walk, you can use this, does that put the town liable for any injuries that happen within the park? Is there any, from a legal perspective, that we need to have certain rules posted, followed or not followed?
I would make the recommendation that we wouldn't necessarily be taking it off any of these rules, that we would just be amending them. These have not been reviewed by the city attorney in some time. It was reviewed when the park was installed, now over 15 years ago or more. But it's not,
some of these have this, at your own risk, kind of use at your own risk, which I feel like is a fair call to make because, even used properly, it can be dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, also one of the many reasons where it's actually it's specifically not monitored by town staff for that, as one of the reasons of liability.
Do we add the surfaces may be hot line?
Certainly can if you'd like.
Yeah, I mean, I thought we went through that. That was 2 years ago. I thought we
Right.
talked about having the attorney review stuff and adding these things.
Yeah.
So
I think we should.
I think use at your own risk is a great,
Like, or if
blanket.
the attorney has a better idea of just
Yeah.
blanket covering.
Blanket coverage. But similar to the dog ordinance, this is as flagrantly ignored in terms of what the rules are and what happens in the skate park. I'm curious if we could change the language to be less here are the rules and more here is the kind of code of conduct expected. So skateboarders have first right of refusal. So if there's a skateboarder here and you're 3, it's time for you to leave. If there's nobody here, no harm.
I think there was an incident that was before your time.
There's always an issue. Hot ramp and a.
No, well, that.
But again, that's kind of,
No,
use it your
that
own-
and the mom of the toddler who insisted that her son had a right to be there.
Oh, even with the skateboard.
With the skateboarders there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've had some
How do
interesting,
interesting challenges.
we've had some
Okay.
interesting experiences.
I'm sure you can look back on next door and find it somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it's well documented, well documented.
That's why I
It'd
thought
be nice if
we
people
had
could
added,
self-police on these kinds of things and.
I thought that's why we had added, we didn't add the hot piece?
It looks like we didn't.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, we never
Coffee
made
is hot,
any, I
too.
mean, in reference to making the
Serious burn.
adjustments to the skate park itself physically, the commission, we chose to hold off on adjusting the rules after the installation of the park itself. Because we did have existing rules, and then the idea was to put it in use for a period of time and then revisit them for.
Yeah, it's not like
change.
adding a rule was going to change anything in that incident either. where
No.
It's like not the kid, the mother, they're not going to read through the rules. Oh, it might be hot. Maybe
Yeah.
Maybe.
shouldn't go in there.
I mean,
So
not
I'm
that it's
sure the
not that it's worded very
effectivity-
succinctly, but it does say, do not use the facility if hazardous conditions exist.
There you go, boom.
And it's not, I mean, obviously,
Tornado,
If it's
hurricane.
daytime.
we're not talking about a 2-year-old or 3-year-old reading the rules themselves.
The only history I've seen in there was with somebody using it properly. It happens, right?
Right.
Any other comments? I'll open up for public comment. None? I'll close public comment. So I have a suggestion. Why don't you take the list of rules, the Corte Madera, the existing rules, take those, and bring it to the city attorney so we can finalize it next meeting. See if he can add verbiage around liability, because he may know the legal
Or if it's
verbiage.
necessary.
Or if it's necessary. And same thing, if we need something regarding hot surfaces, and let him word that. But if we can do this, so this is one of those items, we don't drag it out, like the animal ordinance, and we can kind of bring some kind of closure to it relatively soon.
But I really like Nate's idea too about maybe even getting the skaters to make some kind of sign beyond the legal that's, maybe it's even said, it brings a light.
Code of conduct.
Code of conduct, or also like, this isn't a playground, the playground's that way,
Yeah.
So just kind of add some levity to it, but
Yeah.
say, this is a skate park.
No, yeah, I mean, I think Commissioner Berlunger mentioned that, there wouldn't be something that's like legalese. We're talking about,
No.
a code of conduct. Or,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Two things.
Be a good
One, you
neighbor.
have your legal
Yeah.
things, but then
Absolutely.
also for just,
Absolutely.
I think it's worth stating, like, the skate park, the right of first refusal, the priority goes to skaters.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something
That
we'd
is-
be interested in looking at?
I mean, I
Yeah,
feel like
I
it
think so.
might,
So I don't know,
and I don't think any of this is necessarily going to be a deterrent, but.
but at least it's there to support
there
if there's
to
another
support-
one of these encounters with a mom of a toddler.
Yes.
kind of.
Just trying to figure out how we can get, dog owners to self-police, right? You see somebody off the leash, how do you self-police and say, all of us want our dogs here?
Right.
Put your dog on a leash.
have them bring them in the skateboard
Right?
park.
Hey, you can go play in the skateboard park with the rest of the skaters.
Contain area.
Yeah.
Fifi burns her paws on a dog.
The other ways we can.
So if you can find this stuff out, Marie, from the city attorney, and see if we need a separate code of conduct, or if that's something he can work into rules. I'm not sure how that works.
I might suggest that we reach out to the kids who were supporting the construction in the new park to get their input on
Yeah.
on something like that. Because we're talking about two different items now, which is fine.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
no, the
just-
legal one, I think,
we're
is
talking
city
about different
attorney.
things.
The other thing is the
Coded,
skaters.
okay.
Oh,
you can move-
to clarify, we're looking at adding verbiage about liability. We're talking about adding potential wordage on hot surfaces. And we want to look at adding verbiage about skaters have priority and right of first refusal.
Right.
Yeah.
And one other question, do we want to set any kind of age limit? Like if you're under 3, or, let me just word it this way. By age limit, I mean under the age of, and I don't have young kids anymore, under the age of 5 have to be accompanied by an adult. I'm just throwing this out
Yeah.
because it kind of crosses over into the liability part where if somebody's in there and their kid's in there and the rule says, they should be on skateboards, but at least if they're in there, I don't know how much that protects us. And I'm just throwing out an age. I don't know if that's 3, 4, 5. I don't know what that is, or if we just don't want to have anything like that at all.
I would defer to the lawyer
Okay.
for.
So something to the effect of skaters under the age of 5 need to be accompanied by an adult.
Yeah, or
Something like that.
Probably
something, yeah, I don't know the
Probably good
exact
common
verbiage.
sense.
And I think if you swap
write
out
these things down
the,
sometimes.
if you swap out the word skaters for riders, then because we don't want somebody on a bike and somebody on a skateboard, and the guy on the skateboard says, well, skaters get priority. I mean, if we're going to allow it to be used by scooters and
Okay,
bikes
well,
and skaters.
right now we're not, right now the rules very specifically say no bikes,
Right.
no
And
tricycles,
are
no
we gonna-
scooters. So is that something the commission is interested in?
Has anyone
in changing?
seen bikers using it before?
I've seen somebody on a BMX bike, and I've seen older kids on two-wheel scooters, like doing tricks and.
And my impression is that kind of park, that size of park, is used a lot by older kids on scooters these days, and it's a very small park to have a bike in there.
Yeah.
So, you might ask the guys who help support it, but just my knee-jerk is that scooters and skateboards are good, but that's a little bit of a small park to have a bike from rolling around in there.
Plus no motorized.
Yeah,
That sounds
'cause now
funny,
there's a lot
but
of
with the
motorized scooters.
skateboards, I've seen those are the
Yeah, it's
scooters.
coming to Mount Tam, all the electric mountain bikes,
Right.
so.
Okay, between now and the next meeting, if you have any verbiage you want to add, let Mario know. But then again, Mario, if you can bring it to city attorney, so next meeting, we have kind of a defined list that we can vote on and get that going.
Okay, for clarity, are we talking about including bikes or keeping
Keeping
the
bikes
rule the
out.
same that says no bikes, no bicycles, no tricycles, no scooters? Or motorized vehicles allowed at any time?
We're trying
No
to add
tricycles is
scooters.
a no-brainer.
Yeah, no tricycles, but skateboards, scooters, inline skates as yay.
Okay, so we'd be talking about eliminating the scooters from
The
the
no
third,
list,
the third
yeah.
rule that we have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
scooters are no longer banned.
Yeah.
And no bikes, is
Sure.
no bikes in there now?
No bikes is in there now.
Yeah.
Okay.
What are you saying?
Do we need to, and
Scooters,
again, I may be
yes?
doing it, do we need to add anything about motorized?
And I think
I think
should
we
add
leave the
motorized.
no tricycles, no motorized, no bicycles.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
okay. So again, between now and the next meeting, if you want to add anything, just let Mario know.
Okay.
And then we can take a look at it next meeting and get it moving on that. Okay. 6.4, approval minutes of December 2018 meeting minutes. Did everybody get a chance to read the minutes? Any additions, corrections, changes? Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Call for the vote.
Commissioner Blumgren?
Yes.
Commissioner Engstrom?
I was not here.
That's right. Commissioner Wilson?
Yes.
Commissioner Miles?
I was absent.
Commissioner Phipps?
Yes.
Vice Chair Chomsky?
Yes.
And Chair Casissa?
Yes. Okay, under routine other matters, future agenda items, next meeting, hopefully Peter Brown from Public Works is going to come and talk to us, because I think we're all aware they did kind of like the changeover. So now the project gets approved funded-wise from town council, and then after that, it kind of moves over into Public Works area. So it's on them to get the project done. So he's going to come here and give us an update. I know on the basketball court for sure, there may be a couple other projects also that's going on. We'll discuss the fee resolution. We have to bring that to a vote at the next meeting also. And then we're also going to discuss possible action on 2019-2020 meeting schedule. Usually what happens is that, and Nathan brought this up, which I think was a good point. Usually we don't meet in August, we don't meet in November, and we just have one meeting like the second week in December. Usually we make those decisions the month before those meetings. Now what we're going to do is actually schedule them all out at once, so we know what the schedule is for the calendar year. So this way we're not trying to do it piecemeal. And then we'll have the skateboard park rules on there also. Okay, and if anybody has anything else between now and then, let Mario and myself know. Anybody have anything else?
Just one DPW nag, if you could help us, Mario. I think we're on month 4 of no water fountain at the playground. The bottle filler works, but the water fountain hasn't worked for months.
Is the button still
Still
gone?
gone, yeah.
Okay, I'll make a note of that.
That comes under capital improvements.
Wish list.
Okay, with that, we're adjourned. Thanks.
All right.
Should done.